Now, Johnson, you've got a story, and it's going to tie into a discussion we were having earlier this week about decentralization and how it's sort of it's what's happening. It's the wave of the future, but it's also here now, and technologies like Bitcoin, of course, this amazing decentralized currency that the decentralization there, it cuts out the middleman in the money world. It cuts out the banks. It cuts out the government. Bitcoin was not created by a government or a bank. It was created by Satoshi Nakamoto, and no one knows who that is. So essentially, the creator isn't even centralized. The code was released to the world, and it has now been taken over by a group of programmers who spans the entire world.
I also like this term disintermediation, which is used a lot in internet programmers and whatnot and technology circles. Which means it's the reduction in the use of intermediaries between producers and consumers.
So, like a middleman. I mean, that's another word for middleman. It's getting
rid of the middleman. Yeah.
So for instance, you if you were to buy software a decade and a half ago, you probably would go to Best Buy or some other software store and pick a product off of the shelf. You can purchase software easily now directly from companies. There's Steam, which is still an intermediary. But it's more convenient of an intermediary because you don't have to get up from your office chair to acquire new software.
Right, exactly.
Let's jump into this list, though, because other folks are calling in on other topics, and we'll get into that here in a moment. But let's just jump in here into 21 technologies that are decentralizing the world.
Okay, so one of those is Open Garden.
Oh yeah, we know this. We know.
Yeah, see, most of them we're gonna know, but it's really interesting to put them all together.
Our
listeners definitely may not.
We actually had Paige from Open Garden on the show, right?
Paige Peterson, yep.
A lot of these technologies have been talked about on Free Talk Live in the past, and you can probably
because we're that hip.
Exactly, we are that hip. But
what's the source on this? I'm sorry if you already said it. What's the source?
Shareable.net.
Okay.
So, Open Garden, is a product of the Open Garden Foundation, provides mesh networking through an app that creates a wireless mesh network, enabling everyone to have faster downloads and stronger and cheaper connectivity. It's essentially something that you install on your computer or your phone and creates a direct connection to connection to make a mesh network. What a mesh network is it's like... well, if you've ever used the ad hoc network setting, if you have a laptop, it connects directly to other computers, and then those kind of create their own sort of local internet, and maybe one connects to the internet, and then everybody kind of goes through that one person. But
the Open Garden can have multiple connections to the internet.
Right.
And multiple people using
and multiple connections with people to each other. So everybody's kind of getting access.
My big objection to Open Garden, the number one thing that came to my mind was, well, what if you've got limitations on your internet access?
Right.
Then that's a problem, right? Because then if I share, for instance, I've got a Walmart Straight Talk phone, and it's unlimited asterisk.
Right.
And then, the asterisk means it's unlimited, but we're going to throttle your connection, meaning slow it down dramatically after you go past 2.5 gigs per month. Now, I don't normally go anywhere near that. I mean, even when I had Verizon, I wasn't doing more than a gig a month unless it was at PorkFest or something like that. And even then, I still wouldn't get up to 2 gigs. But if I start just openly sharing my connection with anybody who wants to hop on, is there any way with Open Garden, to block YouTube or something like that? Like if I could stop people from using bandwidth hog kind of websites, then maybe I'd consider doing Open Garden. But otherwise, I'm not going to let just anybody on my internet connection. I pay for that stuff.
Right. So maybe they'll build some sort of that functionality into it. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if they have or they haven't. It's been a couple of years since we talked to her. She was at PorkFest though this year.
Yep.
As a matter of fact, I saw her at the big gay dance party. Let's go on. Is this in any order whatsoever? Is going from 21 to 1? Is it ordered in most importance?
It's just 1 to 21. I mean, they do have them numbered. I don't know if it's importance.
Okay.
They had the Open Garden as number 1. Number 2 is very similar. The Commotion router, which is a software that allows you to install on your router to again build mesh networks.
Okay.
So that's the second one. Twister is the third one.
Love that game. Classic.
Yes, but Twister is not the game that you're talking about. It's actually a website that is like Twitter, but Twister is a peer-to-peer alternative social network operating on a decentralized framework designed in a way that prevents other users from
Slow down. Peer-to-peer social network.
Operating on a decentralized framework
Okay.
Designed in a way that prevents others from knowing too much about your whereabouts and online habits. So it's kind of like a private version of Twitter, I guess.
Twister.
Twitter knows people can find out your whereabouts and your habits based on Twitter.
Yeah, sure. Especially if you share them.
Well, don't.
Exactly.
But I mean, Facebook has this kind of checking in thing, so that if you feel like stalking somebody and perhaps robbing them for their wallet
But
or raping them or
Twitter
whatever,
does
you'll
track-
know where they are on a pretty regular basis.
Yeah. Twitter does track IPs, and if you're the government, you can certainly find out a lot more about people. So maybe Twister is built in a secure way behind the scenes so that people like the NSA can't track your location. I don't know. Again, I don't know enough about all of these. I have heard lots about each individual one, and it's worth talking about.
Indeed.
All right, what number are we coming up to?
We're coming up to number 4, which is the Edison.
I don't know what that is. We'll find out in moments. The Edison, a decentralizing technology of 21 decentralizing technologies. Johnson is sharing with us. Johnson, you're on a list of 21 decentralizing technologies. The source of the article was what again?
Shareable.net.
All right, let's keep going.
So the future of devices is micro and wearable. Intel announced this SD-sized computer in January, and bloggers are already talking
What's it
about
called?
the
What's an SD-sized computer?
So the name of it is the Intel Edison.
Edison.
And what it is it's a computer the size of an SD card. That's about the size of a postage stamp.
Yep, that's pretty small.
It's a full working computer. It's the whole board. It's everything on an SD card. And so essentially the potential for this is, all these devices like the Fitbits, the smartwatches, maybe your camera, other things, essentially being able to replace and upgrade the whole thing by just taking out the entire computer processing part of it and just replacing it with a new entire working computer. Or maybe making other devices smarter by adding a computer to them, essentially.
Google's doing something like this, right? Where they have a phone that's essentially kind of a decentralized phone where you can swap out the processor or swap out the graphics
Project
chip
Arya,
or something.
I think is the name of that. I don't know. It's very cool. It's essentially like componenting. It's making it so that you can build phones like you can computers with parts. Number 5 is BitCloud, which is only a concept for now, but it's basically a proposal to replace the entire internet with a decentralized system, I assume, based on bit technology.
Isn't that
like Bitcoin?
Is it MadeSafe? Is that the one that's doing the same thing?
Maybe. There's also the Pirate browser released by Pirate Bay. They're trying to do their own thing that was based on the Tor network, so I don't know how well that's going now.
The idea is to make an internet that can't be controlled by governments, because currently you've got, essentially
everything is centralized in the domain name registry system.
ICANN.
ICANN.
It's called.
Yep.
Which, of course, Namecoin is a workaround for that. That's I don't know if that's on the list.
Well, it is. Let's keep going.
And the internet was basically the old DARPA net, so I'm supposed to believe that one of the most nefarious organizations in the world, DARPA, has somehow let loose of this, the most powerful technology created in the last couple of decades.
Oh, I believe that. Governments are, in a lot of cases, pretty incompetent.
Could be.
Go ahead, Johnson. Let's keep going.
The number 6 is the Internet of Things, and this is a big one. So the number of things that will be connected to the Internet of Things is about to explode, reports Business Insider. The smartification of formerly dumb objects like parking meters, home thermostats, appliances, and automobiles is set to rival...
They're going to have refrigerators that are connected to the internet, right?
Exactly.
Where
everything.
The refrigerator will know that you're running low on milk, and they'll place an order at the grocery store.
Right, exactly.
Could potentially do something like that, yes.
Yep. So certainly this type of thing is going to explode, and there's going to be a huge markets for this stuff. Tons of money is going to be flying around, and interesting solutions for all this stuff. Like what are they going to be able to do?
I love the idea of being able to. I don't know if I want my refrigerator ordering for me, but I do like the idea of being able to order things and then going to pick them up from the grocery store, because the biggest time waster at the grocery store is the actual shopping.
Well, there's also like the Amazon stuff, the shopping from Amazon where you can get the groceries. They're trying to do that service now.
That's true.
And hopefully
they're not doing
in the future,
fresh meat though yet.
Well, hopefully once they start being able to deliver stuff by drone, who knows? Maybe you'll get a meat package by drone or something like that.
Yeah, the FAA is FAA is firmly standing in the way of any kind of drone delivery at the moment. Moving on.
Well, next one, Wonder Bar.
Wunderbar.
Wunderbar is a starter kit for developers, hackers, and makers looking to test out ideas and contribute to the Internet of Things. Created by European startup Relayer, the kit will include 6 modules with sensors for temperature, distance, light, color, humidity, a gyroscope, an accelerometer, an infrared remote control, a Grove connector. I don't even know what that is.
You remember those old Radio Shack kits that you'd get back in the day where you could like wire them up in different ways, and one of them would turn a little light bulb on, and the other one would be a little two-way radio
That's
or transistor
gotten
radio.
much more advanced now with Arduino and all these like basically home electronics kits. I mean, there's these microprocessor kits that you can get now that you can do a lot with. If
But
you
is this
learn
in
how
the
to
same
program.
category as
Yes,
that
it is.
kind
Yeah,
of stuff?
it's definitely. And this is like all the sensors and stuff we're working with that. And I'm surprised that they didn't mention Arduino and Raspberry Pi here because it seems like it's the same kind of thing.
Yeah, Raspberry Pi is huge.
Yep. So apparently there's another thing, number 8, the wireless registry. In the Internet of Things, each thing will need an address and a name, just like regular computers and mobile devices. While the regular Internet associates URLs with IP addresses via the DNS system, the wireless registry associates service set identifiers, that's an SSID if you've ever connected to a wireless network, that's like the name of the wireless network, with 32 character names that convey the user's identity in the wireless world. So apparently they're going to have like a registry of SSIDs for wireless devices if you wanted to do that. It's just sort of like a URL for a SSID.
I'm confused. Are you saying that...
Why do I want that?
Right. Why would I want to register
if everything's
LRN.FM as my SSID?
Well, if everything is wireless as part of a mesh network, then you would be able to connect to that device from anywhere as long as you're connected to the mesh.
I see.
Interesting.
Okay.
So the internet becomes completely ubiquitous. I think. I'm not sure. I'm guessing. So I'm just reading these because I think they're all really interesting technologies, and they're all kind of together, and I don't know a lot about them.
What's the next number?
The next one is number 9,
All right.
and it's .bit, which is Namecoin.
Namecoin. Now, I can explain this one. This is, so it's basically Bitcoin. It's a kind of an imitator, an altcoin, if you will, of Bitcoin. But the thing that Namecoin does differently, and that I think what makes it unique from the hundreds of other altcoins out there, is that Namecoin is, in its essence, a decentralized DNS system. Now, DNS is the internet lookup service, basically. When you type in freetalklive.com, your computer contacts your local internet service provider's
It's like how
DNS.
your phone saves your family's names as opposed to their phone numbers.
Sure, but essentially it's a quick lookup. You don't notice it. It's happening within a fraction of a second after you hit the enter key on your keyboard after punching in a URL. The DNS system gives your computer the actual IP address of the server you're trying to connect to. But that IP address and that whole DNS system comes from this centralized ICANN group that we talked about previously, which is an easy-to-target group by the government. And, the government, of course, has gone to ICANN multiple times and has said, well, hand over this URL, and this URL. And then you see the government page comes up when you go to one of these sites like, we've taken this URL, and the FBI logo. And that's how they do it, because there's centralized DNS, and bit through the Namecoin system allows for decentralized DNS, meaning that they can't be shut down by governments.
Because this is really important. A website doesn't actually get taken down by the government. When you see that the Homeland Security has swooped in and done something, when you've seen that picture up, they don't actually get taken down. They're just rerouted to that page.
That's true.
Their website is. So if you know the little numbers that go to a website, and I don't know what Free Talk Lives are, but I know we have them, then you can get around that stuff.
Well, number 10 is Bitcoin, and so that means that there's 11 more that are worth looking at.
Yeah.
And they're on the
Very
Facebook page at
interesting.
facebook.freetalklive.com.
Excellent. Thanks, gentlemen. Good show. Toll-free number. We'll give you that tomorrow, and we'll see you online in the meantime at freetalklive.com. Look forward to talking to you tomorrow.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.